The air inside the grocery store smelled faintly of cinnamon and pine. Christmas music played softly through speakers, and bright lights shimmered from decorated trees near the bakery section. Yet Alexander Mitchell felt none of the holiday spirit as he mechanically pushed his cart down the aisles. His tailored coat and designer watch spoke of wealth, but his eyes held a hollowness money couldn't fill. 2 years had passed since the accident that took David from them. 2 years of Alex going through motions, building his software empire while neglecting the community foundation his husband had poured his heart into. The Rainbow Bridge. David's pride, a sanctuary for LGBT youth rejected by their families, now struggled without its passionate founder. At home, untouched boxes of Christmas decorations gathered dust. The handmade ornaments crafted by teenagers from the center remained packed away. Noah, their 7-year-old son, had stopped asking about the traditions they once cherished. The little boy with curious eyes and David's infectious laugh now moved quietly around their sprawling, empty Seattle home. "Dad, can we please get decorations this time?" Noah's voice pulled Alex back to the present. "Christmas is next week." Alex nodded, though his heart wasn't in it. David had been the one who transformed their home each December, lights strung across every railing, homemade gingerbread scenting the air, the center's youth choir practicing in their living room. Now the mansion stood cold and silent, much like Alex himself. That morning, while searching for Noah's winter jacket, Alex had discovered a box labeled Christmas 24 in David's handwriting. Inside lay plans for the center's annual Christmas play, tickets purchased months before the accident, and a small wrapped gift with Alex's name. He'd slammed the lid shut, unable to face what David had prepared for a future he wouldn't see. As Noah skipped ahead toward the holiday section, Alex's phone buzzed with messages from his executive team: acquisitions, board meetings, profit margins. The world he'd retreated into after loss. He'd thrown himself into work, canceling the charity galas David had cherished, withdrawing donations from community programs, severing ties with the vibrant family they'd built beyond their home. "Success means nothing if we don't share it," David would say, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Those words haunted Alex now as he watched Noah touch a snow globe with longing eyes. When had he last truly seen his son? When had he last honored the promise they'd made to raise him surrounded by love and community? Have you ever lost sight of what truly matters? Subscribe to Heart Stories for tales of love that transcend grief, communities that become family, and the quiet courage of those who find their way back to themselves. Noah's voice cut through Alex's thoughts, urgent and filled with something Alex hadn't heard in months. Purpose. "Dad, look," he whispered, tugging at Alex's sleeve. "That man can't buy a turkey." Alex followed his son's gaze to the frozen section where a young father knelt beside a boy about Noah's age. His coat was missing a button, his shoes worn at the edges. He spoke softly to his disappointed son as he returned a golden-labeled turkey to the freezer case. "He said they can't afford it." Noah continued, his eyes wide with concern. "Dad, David always said Christmas is about helping others, right? That's what he taught me." Something in Noah's expression, the earnest set of his jaw, the expectant look, was so painfully familiar that Alex had to catch his breath. It was David's look, the one he'd worn when bringing home a teenager kicked out for coming out, or when convincing Alex to fund another program for the center. It was the look that said, "We have the power to make this right." "Sometimes people have hard times," Alex replied automatically, the corporate distance he'd cultivated seeping into his voice. "We can't help everyone, Noah." His son's face fell, disappointment clouding his features. "But Dad," David said, "even small kindness matters." He said, "That's how we change hearts." The words struck Alex like a physical blow. He stood frozen in the bright fluorescent light, watching the father and his son move toward the checkout with only bread, milk, and a few canned goods in their basket. He noticed something, then a small rainbow pin fastened to his worn jacket collar, the symbol of pride, of community, of everything David had fought for. A memory surfaced, unbidden: David in a Santa hat, serving Christmas dinner at the Rainbow Bridge, his eyes bright as he welcomed kids with nowhere else to go. "These are our children too." he told Alex that night. Every single one of them. Alex glanced down at Noah, who was still watching the man with concern etched across his young face. When had he stopped seeing the world through David's eyes, through Noah's eyes? When had he become so insulated in his grief that he'd forgotten what truly mattered? The father was counting coins at the register now, his fingers slightly trembling. With a small sigh, he put back a modest box of cookies his son had selected, murmuring something that made the child nod bravely. Alex recognized that nod, the early lesson in disappointment that some children learn too soon. Noah looked up at Alex, and in that moment, he saw not just his son, but David's legacy questioning him. The silent accusation hung between them. What happened to the man who stood beside David, who believed in his vision of a world where no one went unseen? What happened to the father who promised to raise their son with compassion as his compass? Alex felt something crack inside him, the protective shell of grief and isolation he'd built over 2 years. It wasn't just about a turkey or a Christmas dinner. It was about who he had become and who he had promised David he would remain. "Wait here," Alex told Noah, his voice soft but resolute. Moving swiftly, he grabbed the largest turkey from the freezer section, then filled another basket with everything needed for a proper Christmas meal: potatoes, cranberry sauce, stuffing, pie ingredients. He added a small plush reindeer and a gift card tucked discreetly into a holiday envelope. At the checkout line, Alex approached quietly. "Excuse me," he said, placing the items beside the father's. "These belong with your groceries." The man turned, startled confusion crossing his tired features. I think you've made a mistake," he stammered, clutching his meager collection of items. Alex shook his head. "No mistake. Please, let us help. Merry Christmas." Recognition flickered in his eyes as he studied Alex's face. You're Alex Mitchell. Aren't you David's husband?" The world seemed to slow. Alex hadn't heard himself referred to as David's husband in so long. He'd become Alex Mitchell, CEO, investor, recluse, all identities that distanced him from the life they'd built together. "Jason Torres," the man said, extending his hand. "I volunteered at Rainbow Bridge for 3 years. David helped me when Michael came out." He gestured toward his poet, who was now curiously studying Noah. "He gave me the courage to support my boy when my own family wouldn't." Alex swallowed hard, unprepared for this collision of worlds. "You knew David?" Jason's eyes softened. "Everyone at the bridge knew David. He saved us, all of us." He paused, glancing at Noah. "We've missed seeing this little guy at the center. The Christmas play won't be the same without him." Noah perked up at the mention of the play. "Are they still doing A Rainbow Christmas?" he asked eagerly, addressing Jason directly. "I was supposed to be but an elf last year." Michael, Jason's son, joined the conversation. "I'm in the play this year. You should come. We need more elves." The casual exchange hit Alex with devastating clarity. While he'd been hiding from his grief, Noah had lost not just a father but an entire community. The bridge had been their extended family, the place where holidays were celebrated with chosen kin when blood relatives had turned away. "The center's struggling," Jason admitted quietly while the boys chatted. "Without David's fundraising expertise, well, this might be our last Christmas production. The building needs repairs and donations have dropped significantly." Alex's chest tightened with guilt. He hadn't just abandoned the legacy, he'd actively withdrawn support when the foundation needed it most. The corporate accounts that once funneled regular donations to LGBT youth programs had been closed on his order. "Dad, can we go to the play?" Noah asked, tugging at Alex's coat. "Please, Michael says they're practicing tonight." Jason smiled apologetically. He's excited to have someone his age there. Most of our volunteers now are teenagers. He hesitated. "You're welcome anytime." "Alex, David's chair on the board has remained empty. No one wanted to fill it." The cashier finished scanning their combined groceries. Alex handed over his card automatically, but his mind was elsewhere on empty chairs, struggling centers. and the memory of David's voice. These are our children too. The drive home felt different, heavy with unspoken words and rediscovered memories. Noah sat in the back seat, animatedly recounting stories about the Rainbow Bridge that Alex hadn't heard him mention in years. Michael says they still have the star Dad David made for the top of the tree, Noah said. And they sing his favorite carol first on Christmas Eve. He paused, his voice growing quieter. Why don't we go there anymore? Dad, the kids miss me. I think they miss you too. Alex gripped the steering wheel, unable to formulate an answer that wouldn't reveal the depth of his failure. How could he explain that he'd cut those ties because each smiling face at the center reflected David's absence? That the community David built only magnified the void he left behind? Dad, Noah persisted. Can we go to the play, please? We'll see, Alex replied, the non-committal answer parents use when they need time. But Noah's question lingered as they pulled into their driveway, a sprawling property that had once hosted summer barbecues for bridge families and holiday gatherings for kids with nowhere else to celebrate. After dinner, while Noah worked on homework, Alex found himself drawn to David's study, a room he'd barely entered since the accident. Everything remained as David had left it, grant proposal half completed. Photos of center events lining the walls. A calendar still turned to December 2023. Alex opened the closet, inhaling the fading scent of David's cologne on his jackets. In the pocket of a tweed coat, his fingers discovered something unexpected, a small envelope containing tickets to this year's Christmas play at the bridge. David had purchased them months before his death, planning for a future he wouldn't see. The reality struck Alex with crushing force. David had never stopped believing in tomorrow. Even in his absence, he'd ensured their connection to the community would continue through these tickets, through Noah, through the legacy he had entrusted to Alex. Sleep proved elusive that night. Alex found himself pulled to the bedroom's window seat where David used to read, gazing over the Seattle skyline. He opened the drawer beneath the cushion, David's private space, and found his husband's journal. Last entry dated 2 days before the accident. Love isn't what we hold for ourselves, David had written, but what we give when the world seems coldest. Alex and Noah are my greatest gifts, but the children at the center are our family too. I hope they always know they belong, that their lives are constellations of possibility, even when others deny their light. Alex turned pages, tracing David's handwriting with trembling fingers. Photos fell from between the pages, their family at bridge events. Noah surrounded by teenagers who'd found safety in David's programs. Alex and David receiving a community service award. In those images, Alex saw what he'd lost. Beyond David, he'd lost himself. The man who stood proudly beside his husband, building something meaningful. He'd lost their shared purpose, their vision of creating spaces where people like them could thrive without fear. Noah's question echoed, why don't we go there anymore? The answer was clear now. Not because the center reminded Alex of David's absence, but because it reflected Alex's own absence from the values they'd built their life upon. He had abandoned not just David's legacy, but the very principles that had made their love revolutionary. Morning light streamed through the windows as Alex made a phone call that would have been unthinkable the day before. Cancel everything, he told his executive assistant. Not just today, clear my schedule through January. With Noah bundled in a winter coat, they drove to a part of Seattle Alex had avoided for 2 years. The Rainbow Bridge Center occupied a Victorian building painted in bright colors, though the paint was now peeling in places. A faded banner announced, Annual Christmas Play, a Rainbow Holiday, with next week's date. Inside, volunteers decorated a massive tree. Jason spotted them from across the room, surprise giving way to a welcoming smile. Alex, Noah, I didn't expect to see you so soon. Noah immediately ran to join Michael and other children arranging ornaments on lower branches. Alex stood awkwardly, an outsider in the space his husband had created. On the wall hung a memorial photo of David, surrounded by notes from teens whose lives he'd transformed. Below it, a plaque read, "So every heart has shelter on the coldest days." We're struggling, Jason admitted, leading Alex through rooms needing repair. The heating system's failing, the roof leaks, and our youth counselor left for a better paying position. He sighed. David would have found a way, though. He always did. Alex stopped before a bulletin board covered with photos of past Christmas celebrations. In nearly every image, he stood beside David serving food, directing plays, hanging lights. A man he barely recognized now. "I didn't just lose David," Alex said softly. "I lost my way." Jason touched his arm gently. "He knew who you were even when you forgot." That evening, Alex returned alone after putting Noah to bed. He brought David's laptop containing financial records, grant applications, and donor lists. Until dawn, he worked in David's old office, crafting a plan not just to save the Christmas play, but to secure the bridge's future. The next morning, Alex established the David Winters Memorial Fund with a personal endowment substantial enough to renovate the building and expand programs. He didn't stop there. He offered Jason the position of executive director with a salary that would allow him to quit his second job. When opening night arrived, Alex sat in David's traditional seat in the front row. Noah beamed from the stage in his elf costume. The audience filled with community members, supporters, and families who had nowhere else to celebrate applauded as the children performed. As the final carol ended, Alex was invited to light the star atop the Chufquoyot's tree, standing beneath the twinkling lights, surrounded by the family he and David had built beyond biology. Alex felt David's presence not as a painful absence, but as a continuation through every person in the room. "A small kindness can change a heart forever," he whispered, echoing David's favorite saying as the star illuminated. Outside after the performance, Alex and Noah joined volunteers hanging lights across the center's facade. Looking at his son's joy-filled face, Alex understood that David's greatest gift wasn't the foundation or programs. It was showing them that family transcends blood, that belonging creates bridges across even the deepest losses. Have you ever rediscovered your purpose through an unexpected encounter? When has a single moment of kindness redirected your path? Share your story in the comments. Someone may find their way through your experience. Subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales of resilience, love that transforms communities, and the courage to honor legacies that change our world.